Tripods, they might not be the most exciting piece of gear, but if you shoot landscapes or travel photography, the right tripod can make all the differences. Do you go for a light and compact travel tripod, or do you go for the sturdy landscape full-size tripod? Let's talk about that. Hey everyone, it's Mike from Rogala Photography, where we talk about everything photography. If you frequent the photography social media groups on Facebook or Reddit, you'll always see someone asking for suggestions for what's a good tripod to get. Some will specifically say they want a travel tripod, but most of the time the people ask very vaguely. Travel tripods, pros and cons. We got two travel tripods here. We have the Peak Design. Their travel tripod's been around for a while. This is the aluminum version. They also make a carbon fiber version, which is pretty much twice the price as the aluminum one. Personally, I think it's a ridiculous price, but it's a nice tripod though. It's very well built, very, very sturdy. Over here, we have the Me Photo, I believe it's called the Backpacker. And actually this one I just got, believe it or not, off of eBay for 20 bucks. And it's like in mint condition, okay? We're going to talk about this one in a minute. I bought this one for specific reasons, okay? But travel tripods. They are lightweight and compact, easy to carry on long hikes. They fit and carry on luggages or in a backpack. They're great for travel and quick setups. However, there are some size and stability trade-offs. First off, they're much shorter, okay? Yes, they do get taller with the center column, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. They also have much, much thinner legs. And if you look on the Peak Design especially, those bottom set of legs, I mean, the slightest little vibration or shake, your whole camera is shaking. I would definitely not put this in a creek with running water, or definitely not like on a bridge where there might be traffic going back and forth. Even if you hang your camera bag or some weight from here, you're still not going to have the sturdiness and the stability that you would have with a much larger landscape tripod. Now this one over here, it also has the center column here, and you're going to hear me talk about center columns. Personally, I think they're terrible, okay? That is the weak point of a lot of these tripods, because your lens and your camera are sitting on top of this one column right here, and it could be moving around this way, especially if you have like a long lens or something on here. This thing is going to be moving around with the slightest breeze. I mean, you can see right here that I'm moving it, and I mean, I'm just got two fingers on it and it's wiggling. This one I have set up for macro, but this one's a little bit better, okay? But still, you put this in with on a windy day, and you're going to have some problems with some camera shake, okay? Now this one, the bottom legs are definitely thicker than on the Peak Design one, but they're nothing compared to the landscape tripod I have sitting over here. So what are travel tripods best for? They're good for hikers, travelers, and for those who prioritize portability. These are also great for urban or street photography where a small footprint is useful. Now, if you are going to use a tripod or some sort of support mechanism in an urban setting, I suggest a monopod, or in something called the platypod, which we will do another video on. but they are much, much smaller, and they have a really small footprint where you can move around very easily in an urban setting. Okay, these are also great for shooting on locations where carrying heavy gear isn't practical. I know, like, I have a bad back and a bad hip, and sometimes, carrying something like this, my body just can't handle it. Okay. Now, usually when I carry this, I usually don't put it in my backpack, so the weight's not on my back. I usually carry it in one of my arms. This way I can switch arms with it. I can set it up quickly. A lot of times my camera will be set up already on this, so it's all I gotta do is set it right up. Whereas these right here, I usually don't leave my camera set up on the travel tripods. Okay. I'll use these again when the pain in my back or my hip are really flaring up. If I'm going someplace where I really don't need to carry something like this, let's just say I'm going to a party or some sort of an event where the ground is stable, concrete, asphalt. It's not a windy day, etc. Or if I just need to pack light, especially if I'm carrying a sling, this is definitely a tripod that I am going to take with me. Okay, landscape tripods, pros and cons. All right, so you can see this monster right here. Look at the height of this thing. This thing is awesome. Now you're going to say, like, well, how you can't even reach your camera because you put your camera on here. It's taller than me. How are you going to reach your camera? The idea of the height is not to lift it up like this all the time, but so you can maybe put your tripod on ground that's lower than you're standing. So let's just say I'm on an incline. My camera, my tripod can sit lower and I'm up higher, and I have the extra reach for me to be able to keep it up high, and then all of a sudden now it's level. So if I'm on an incline like this, I set my tripod there and I'm above it. Now I'm more on level with my camera. Okay. Also, the other great thing is the longer legs allows you to take one or two of the legs and thrust them over the edge of maybe an embankment, over a wall or a short fence where you might need the extra reach, so you could put the tripod, stable on the ground. But if you were to have something like this, try to reach your leg over, now your tripod's going to be this low to the ground. Okay. So definitely the height and the reach of a landscape tripod are definitely a plus. Also, nowadays, a lot of these landscape tripods are made out of carbon fiber. Okay. Carbon fiber is lighter. So yes, this unit is heavier than these, probably heavier than these two travel tripods combined. Okay. But it's carbon fiber, so it is lighter than, say, in the days when these were, when we were using aluminum, like the old Gitsos and stuff like that, where they were made out of like a heavier aluminum, even though for the day, aluminum was the lightest metal around. But, again, the carbon fiber is definitely a great modern day technology. Okay, another great thing with these landscape tripods is the ability to put whatever tripod head that you want on here. Okay. Now, right now I have a bowl in here where if I loosen this up, I can level. So even if like right now, I kind of got my tripod legs over there, and this really isn't sitting level, but I can take this and I can look at the bubble level I have on here and level this around until I get that level, and then tighten it. And then even though I don't have the tripod itself level, I can actually have my camera level because of this bowl. However, let's just say I don't want to use a bowl, or I want to be able to switch out much, much faster. Okay. So what I can do is, this is my geared tripod head, the Ben Frodo. Is it the Ben Frodo? Ben Rowe, sorry. Ben Rowe. And this is a 75 millimeter, and here's a 75 millimeter in here as well. Okay, so I can actually do this real quick. I hope. Oh, let me see. Okay, loosen that up, and then there's a button. I could take that right out. Okay, my whole bowl head, and now I could take my geared tripod head, set it in there, lock it up, and now we're all set. I just changed my head around. But let's just say I want to put my gimbal head in there. Same thing. Unlock it, push the button, take that out, and now I have my gimbal head. Okay, so it's so much easier than having a screw. Like this one, I could change the heads on as well. Okay, but yeah, you got to unscrew them. It's got a smaller base. You can see trying to put something like this or something like this, geared head on here. I mean, that's such a small base to be setting this on. I really wouldn't want to put my camera on top of that as well, along with this. This I would probably just use a good old-fashioned ball head for something like that. Okay, I really wouldn't use anything other than that. This one right here actually comes with its own head built in, where I can sit here and rotate it around just like I would a regular ball head, except it's got the ball right here. All right, so again, this is it's much better. It's more sturdier. These are actually also used by people who shoot on like rifle ranges, and when they mount their rifles, they use something like this as well. The other cool thing is you can get them for these too, but I love how all the accessories that I can get for a larger tripod like this. So I can have the weight sack, where I don't use it as a weight sack. I use it like if I'm changing lenses. I can set my lens down in here, or I can put my filters. I have a Freewell magnetic filter pack. I can just set that in there, and then I can concentrate on putting the filter on my camera. Okay. Also, these come with, or you can get padding that go around here. Even though this carbon fiber is definitely better in the winter than the aluminum, okay, it still gets cold in the hands. Okay. Now, if you're wearing gloves, it really doesn't matter. But on a fall day, you're probably not going to be wearing gloves. Wintertime maybe, but not in the fall. So this way, your hand can grab the padding, and it's a little bit better on the hands. But also, like I have in here, is a shoulder support, where I can put my arm and my shoulder in here and carry that this way, and I can grab the leg out here and still keep my camera on here and just move to another location, especially if I'm not going very far, where I don't really want to have to fold up the legs and then have to carry it that way. It's much easier. You see a lot of not so much landscape, but a lot of wildlife photographers, they usually don't fold they keep their legs extended, because if a bird or somebody or an animal or whatever comes along and it comes out of nowhere, you can sit down real quick and then you can get the shot. Okay, so again, another plus for the landscape tripods. Now, there are cons, obviously, to using a landscape tripod. Okay, the size, all the things that make the size is a plus, they're also negatives as well. I mean, obviously, carrying this thing. All right, you're going to need a substantial tripod. You're not going to strap this on a sling. You're going to have a larger backpack, which means you're going to be carrying more weight. And then also, most likely, you're going to be using a larger head. Okay, these things are heavy. These gear heads, these things are heavy. Okay, and then you got the extra weight of the aluminum 75 millimeter bowl insert that goes in. Okay, it's extra weight, and you put that all on your back. Again, that's why I carry this in my hand usually, just because for me it's easier to do so. But again, you can strap it to maybe to the back of your backpack, but you're going to need a larger backpack. Okay. Also, trying to use a tripod like this, like in a city environment, um, I mean, you pretty much you're not going to. Or if you are a architectural, uh, um, or you can take a real estate photographer, yes, this would be definitely very, very supportive. But you're not going to be able to put this in most places, especially if you are going and doing video or or photographs of small apartments, condos, hotels. You're going to need something smaller like this with a much, much smaller footprint. Okay. Let's just say I'm out taking pictures of birds and I got my gimbal head on here, but now I come across a nice scene that I want to get maybe a panorama or something like that. Yes, I could use it with this head, but I would much rather have my panoramic tripod head on there. And then this way I can take a much, much better photo of the scene. Again, I could do it with this. It's possible. Most likely you probably won't be carrying both of these anyway. But again, the option is there if you do want to carry both, okay? Especially if you're not really hiking, too far into a wooded area. If you're just doing a short hike or you're right near a lake somewhere or something like that. Again, carrying both, no big deal. The best for long exposures, okay? You will not get any more stability out of these tripods here. These would not do a good job with a long exposure, especially anything over 30 seconds, even less than that. But if you're going to do a 2 or 3 minute exposure, you want something like this. I could put weight in here. This one here has the hook. I can still do my backpack on here, okay? Just like I can on these. This one has a hook as well. This one has a hook too. But I would much, much trust that I'm going to get an excellent photo, very, very sharp, with this tripod right here than with either one of these, okay? But again, like I said, we're going to talk about that later. Anyway. Also, the landscape tripods are awesome where weight isn't really a concern, but you really do need precision. Like I mentioned, if you're doing a long exposure or you do have to do a slower shutter speed for whatever reason, you know what? You want a much sturdier tripod. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I do want to discuss that usually these landscape tripods don't have them, okay? And that is the center column here, okay? I mentioned it earlier. I would avoid any tripod with a center column. Like if I'm using this one right here, I usually only use it with the head all the way down, or maybe just a little bit where I need a little bit of extra height when I'm using that. Uh, it makes your camera unstable, okay? You really do want to avoid tripods with the center column. Now, there is a caveat to that. If you are someone who likes to shoot macro photography, where you got to get down and dirty and close with your camera to the ground, you're going to want a tripod with a center column. Okay. Now you can see here I got this one all set up for that. But if I do want to, get it set back up again for regular tripod shooting or regular shooting for anything like that, all I got to do is take that out, loosen this up, take that like that, put that back down like this. Let me see. Oops, where did I go here? This has got to go. There we go. I forgot this has there's a little protection in there, a little tab, and a groove in the tube. Excuse me. Okay, so now I just put that back on, and again, now I'm set for regular tripod shooting. But for macro photography, this thing, I bring the legs all the way up. I can spread the legs out like this, and again with the legs up, and then put them out. I can bring this thing down low to the ground, and especially with this underneath the way it was, macro photography is the way to go with something like this. You could do it with the Peak Design one as well. I just don't like the way you have to do it. It takes a little longer time to switch this over with the Peak Design one. Okay. Now they Peak Design did make a another head. It's not really a head. It's more of a support, and all it does is sit flat like this right here. Okay, and it's a little shorter. Does you can put this on it if you want to, but that way you can put your own tripod head on here. But like I said earlier, it's such a small support. You're not going to get that big of a tripod head, and you want something a little bit bigger for like a tripod, especially if you're going to use a longer lens, 70 to 200 or longer. You want something stable. I mean, if you think about it, you're putting $5,000 plus. You want to put it on a cheap tripod and a cheap tripod head. Not that this is cheap, but you know what? I don't. All right. Yes, it very well may be sturdy. Okay. It may be able to hold it just as good as this, but I'll trust this much, much more than something like this when I'm in situations where stability is going to be an issue. All right. So now, which tripod do you choose? Well, ideally, you want to probably have one of each. Okay. So you want to have one where if you know you're going to be going and doing some serious landscape, some panoramic shots, that kind of stuff, or even wildlife, definitely do something like this. Okay. Much, much more support, more stability, and it's just going to hold more weight. I mean, if you got yourself one of these longer wildlife lenses, you definitely want to have something like this. Um, However, if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling or maybe hiking, okay, long hikes, and you maybe have some back or hip issues, then yes, you're going to want a smaller tripod. But again, if you have both, then you have both options, okay? Um, Something like this, again, I would not get, if you're going to buy something like this, don't just buy the Amazon Basics, the cheap ones, okay? Get a reputable brand. Ben Rowe, Leo Photo. This is a Me Photo. Peak Design, which is a little bit more money. But remember, hey everyone, future Mike here. Well, I made a rookie mistake, and for whatever reason, all my cameras ended at 30 minutes, which I know Canon has a 30-minute recording time on some of their cameras as when you're shooting at higher quality. So I'm assuming that's what it is, but I can't figure out why my Ninja stopped recording. Okay. So anyway, I'm just going to finish up real quick here. Luckily, it was right at the end. So what I was saying in the video is look for a quality aluminum or better yet, carbon fiber tripod from a reputable brand, one that you've researched thoroughly. So Surrey, Peak Design. If you want to go Gitzo, you can go with Gitzo, but they're definitely higher end. Me Photo, Leo Photo, three-legged things, etc. There's a bunch of different really, really good brands. Stick with the main brand, okay? Also, try to stay away from, again, like I mentioned in the video, stay away from the center column if you can help it, unless you need it for something like low level, like a macro photography or something along that lines. Okay. So, be careful with what you are looking for. Do your research, watch a lot of videos. Just one thing, please stay away from the $20 to $50 range on Amazon Basics or Amazon. Especially there's this one tripod that everybody uses. And I saw someone on YouTube the other day had one, and I started out with one too. It's a grayish silver one made out of plastic. and it's got a crank on it for when you raise the center column up, and then you can lower it down. Again, I started with that one. I think I still got it upstairs somewhere. So just, kind of stay away from the beginner, those kind of type of tripods. Get yourself a good quality tripod. Two things you want to remember when you're buying stuff for your expensive gear: get yourself a quality tripod and get yourself a quality camera bag. Remember, both of those will be supporting your expensive multi-thousand-dollar gear. Don't cheap out on a tripod or a camera bag. There's no one size fits all tripod. A travel tripod is perfect for mobility, while a landscape tripod offers stability and reach. Also consider what tripod head you prefer. Travel tripods tend to be smaller, so your choices of heads can be much slimmer. A landscape tripod, on the other hand, pretty much the sky's the limit. You can get I showed you a gimbal head, I showed you a panoramic head, and I think I showed you a panoramic head. Okay. Also, oh, no, it was a geared head. That was the other one, a geared head. And you can also use the tried and true ball head as well. So again, a landscape tripod, pretty much whatever you want, and pretty much you can go as large as you want in regards to a tripod head. Just remember, what works best for you depends on how and where you shoot. Choose wisely, and your tripod will serve you well. Take care, everyone.